Hi again, guys. Hey, I wanted to make a quick video here once again about scouting and sort of show you the method that I use. So I have played around, like many of you have, with the recruitment focus feature on this game. As you can see, we have none going on at all. The problem I've noticed with Football Manager 23 is that when you have recruitment focuses, it'll work for like a week or two, and then you won't get anything new from any of your recruitment focuses at all. And you can change them up, you'll get nothing new. If you're looking for players who are like 15 or 16, you can't find them, right? Those of us who like to play with younger players will notice that like even if guys would be willing to go to your team, nobody on your recruitment team is going to find anybody who's of that age. It doesn't work with anybody unless they are 18 or older. And so there are a lot of problems with the way that this is set up. I'll show you the way that I do it here, right? So this particular data file is weird. I've talked about this before. In this particular data file, we can't hire any players who are not playing in the U.S. right now. The reason why is because there is a restriction. So I'll show you how this works. We go over here to Competitions, Mountain West Conference, and we look at rules. When we go down here to the rules, what we see is that the work permit rules say foreign players, players with good potential. That is an understatement. I have been inside the editor data file. I have seen what the rule actually is. The rule is that the player with that the only players who can get a work permit are players who have a potential ability of 200. In other words, nobody's going to come over. If you have a potential ability in Football Manager of 200, right, it's going to show you as having like 5-star, like full 5-star potential or whatever it shows up as. This is likely going to be like an all-time great player. They're going to be playing for one of the best clubs in Europe as it is. You think they're going to come over to this crazy setup that we have? Absolutely not. There's no way. So, I mean, it's just not going to work. We're not going to do that at all. As a result, our scouts, when we look at our scouting range, are only going to cover players in the USA. I mean, we can't even go down to Mexico to buy players because they have to have that 200 PA. Now, the thing that I've done here is instead of having scouts go out and search the way that you usually should, the way that like Zealand will tell you to do, instead of doing that, I've said, no, I'm going to do the scouting myself. I do it sort of the hands-on way. And so what I've done is I went over to all of the clubs that have players who are like 15 and 16 that would want to come to our team that we think would, like all the clubs in the lower leagues. And I've said, okay, well, we're going to have you go scout all of these guys. And what you do is you do the old right click on the players, you go to report, and then you click on the, scout this player type thing. Now, I realized after a while, of course, that we're going to be missing a lot of good players who we should look at otherwise. I don't know where these guys come from, but guys who are 30s, 20s, and so on, we don't want to scout. We'll cancel those assignments. Right. We only want to look at players who are young. And the reason why is because we like to have young players come in so that we can mold them. Right. One of the ways that you can keep your wage budget down, and it doesn't really matter here, we can only have 4 signings per year too because these rules are stupid. Right. And so the transfer budget is really irrelevant. Right. And it's not really that well thought through or designed. But as a result, I mean, the way I like to play is I like to have young players so that we can actually have players play here in the under-19s and then sort of develop them. So what we're going to do instead of, going through and doing stuff that would like make sense is we'll go over to the leagues above us, like say the SEC, and we'll look at a team like Alabama or like, look, LSU's in second place. So we'll go look at LSU. We'll look at the senior squad, and we'll look for any players. You're going to show me how old you are? Apparently not. We're going to look for any players who are young. That's the thing that we're going to focus on. So we go and we auto-size all columns, and we're going to arrange this by age. And look, they have the same problem that we do, which is that there are so few players on their squad that they have to... I'm not sure why that's not working. All right. There's so few players on their squad, they have had to pull up players who are 16 from the under-19 squad to handle things, right? Remember the video I had the other day? I talked the other day about how when you create an editor data file, you really need to go through it yourself and like actually play with it, especially using one of the lower size that are lower down. The reason why I say this is because if you don't do this, you'll have weird things that happen here, right? So there are like a ton of games that all these teams have to play. When you look here, I don't know why this thing is not working quite right. There must be some button that I'm holding down or something. I don't know what's going on, whatever. I would like to look at this so I could figure out how many players are actually on this, but something weird's going on. Whatever. If we were going to look here at the size of their senior squad, if it let us, we're going to see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. They have a 20-man senior squad at LSU, which is one of like the best teams, in this league. I mean, they're second place in the SEC, which is probably the most reputable conference, right? And there's only 20 players in the first team squad, right? That tells you that there's a problem. Right, most people who play Football Manager would say you need to have about a, maybe 23 to 25 man roster, right? You want to have ideally at least 2 players at every position, maybe a couple more young players you can pull up to give a little bit of game time to. If you only have 20 players in your first team squad, you're going to run up across these really, really weird problems, right? Well, look at Ohio State, which is going to also be another one of these teams that has like killer, crazy good players or whatever, and when we look at their full squad, we see that there are 20 players in the first team squad. You see what I'm talking about? And then we look over here at their under 19s and we can see here, we have so many players to choose from, but again, there's not quite enough. And we're having this weird problem happen again, whatever is causing it, I don't know. There's not quite enough. And so because there's not enough players, the computer has to create one of these grayed out players. So it's another issue. Anyway, this is all beyond the point of the video. The point of the video here is to show you that the way that I handle this weirdness that happens in Football Manager is I just select these players that I want if the game actually allows me to. And then we go over to Report and Fully Scout Player. And what that does, when you go back to your scouting screen, you go over to your scout priorities, is it will have them show up here at the bottom of your scout priorities. Let's see, where are we? There we are. And you can see here are all of those LSU players that we can slowly look through and see which ones we like and which ones we don't like. That's the way that it works. That's the way that you do this. It's probably the easiest way to go. Some of these players who are worth like a lot of money, we're almost certainly not going to be able to sign. But what will happen is our scouted player list will increase as we go along. Right, this is part of the problem. Like these players, I don't really care about. I want to remove them from this, whatever, because we can't sign them because they're in Europe, right? But what will happen is your scouted players will increase, your knowledge of the world will increase, and then when the next transfer period finally comes along, which for us is going to be when? It's going to be, I think in July. Yes, June 25th, probably 2023, when that finally comes along in, 7-8 months, we'll be able to have a list of players that we are interested in that we want to sign instead of having to panic and look around and wonder why the game doesn't work right. So there you go. That's the way that I scout players. Don't use the stupid recruitment focus. It doesn't work, right? They should fix it. They probably will fix it kind of for FM24, but knowing how SI is, they'll end up breaking a whole bunch of other things first, and then the thing they bring in to fix it won't work, and you know how it is. It's the old drill. Talk to you again tomorrow. We'll see what we have to talk about then. Bye.